amazing co-host, Miss Christy Becca.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I think I said that really well this time.
You did. And you know what? I mean, normally we're like supposed to say it together, but I was like, she's got this. Like,
it's really hard to say.
It is.
And
it's a
I
tongue
do
twister.
giggle. I giggle every
Yes.
week, but I think I got it this time.
I know. We
So
can
it's
thank
good.
Rick for that, for
We
the
can, yes.
www.
Yes, all the W's. So this morning we are here with Miss Sandra from Brain Train Centers. Thanks for being here.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You guys are
so excited.
opening up your 9th location
We are.
after going into business in just 2023.
Right.
That's incredible.
It is.
That is amazing. So tell us a little bit about Brain Train.
Yeah.
Sure. So Brain Train is a neurofeedback. It's a series of neurofeedback centers. And neurofeedback is a way to more holistically, non-medicine based, deal with the symptoms of all kinds of mental health issues, including something as minor as sleep issues, which we know are not minor, all the way to ADHD or concussions.
I mean, you can just stop right there. Like,
Yeah,
Right, right.
it's like, where do I
Issues
sign?
are-
Like, yes,
Absolutely.
yes, please.
Love that.
So, yeah, and when we started in 2023, I am an adoptive mom, and I was looking for a solution for my son who was dealing with some symptoms that we did not want to medicate because we just didn't know how medication was going to affect him. And so definitely wanted to start it very part-time, and the need for something like this really grew, and it presented itself. So here we are with 9 centers later. So
Wow.
we've been very blessed.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. We were talking about this earlier. Like, I just have a million questions on this because because I feel like in our society, everyone's so quick. You go to the doctor, they tell you what's wrong. Here's a prescription for it. Here's this, here's that.
you
and
don't
it's
even
like,
have to go to the doctor. You can
yeah,
just
that's
telehealth
true.
now.
Yes,
Yeah.
you
exactly.
telehealth, you
That's
fill out
right.
a quiz.
Yeah.
And then without any conversation with anyone, you just pay $95 a
Exactly,
month and
and
they
get a
send you
prescription.
something.
Yeah.
And that's quite terrifying, actually.
It's very
It-
scary.
exactly.
It's very scary.
And
Right.
especially for kids, as their brains are still forming,
Yeah.
and they haven't reached that maturity yet. And so obviously there's a need in the market for this, and clearly you guys, which is fantastic, are helping so many children and adults and whatnot. So what is it like? What do
Sure.
you do?
So we start with what's called a QEEG brain map because I'm an educator as well. So I have taught for almost 30 years. And
Bless your soul.
Right.
Yeah, God love
I'm
you.
a little tired. But what parents were asking as they were coming into parent-teacher conferences and things, they would be like, we're getting these diagnoses of dyslexia or dysgraphia or ADHD, but what does this actually mean in the brain? So I wanted to be able to show them something. Well, in comes the QEEG brain map, which was what we start our whole process with. That shows areas of dysregulation, if there's inflammation in the brain that can be caused by vaccine reactions or food sensitivities or trauma or concussion or TBI. We find those first and then look at the symptoms that are caused because of that. Because there's so many diagnoses that are thrown out there. And what's scary is a diagnosis follows you for the rest of your life. So
Absolutely.
if we're giving a diagnosis to a 3
exactly.
or 4-year-old
Right.
that we don't even know what's really going on in their brain, now we're getting that diagnosis because we want to be on meds. Now we have something that follows us. And do you know that you can't be a pilot or in the military or certain things if you
You're
have a
right.
diagnosis?
Absolutely. I have a nephew that's his situation.
Right.
That he
I do too.
He
Yeah.
got diagnosed early on and he's always wanted to be a Marine. It's the saddest thing.
Oh.
And
It
he'll
is.
never, like
They
he
will not
loves
accept
it.
them.
And
Yeah.
he'll never be able to join. So
And it's terrible because we don't really know that diagnosis is actually what's going on. It could be a frontal
Not at
lobe
4 years old.
injury that
Right.
happened, or a vaccine reaction, or a food sensitivity that we just need to take dairy out of their diet, and then that inflammation goes away. But because we're so medicine based, we are doing things way too early and really causing lifelong implications for people. So
it's quick solutions. or
Absolutely.
What we feel
Yeah,
like are
exactly.
quick solutions.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Throw
you
a pill
don't,
at
and
it.
then you're putting someone on meds that you have to titrate off if you're trying to get off of them. And now we just have this onward cycle. And no one really knows, or not no one, but a lot of people didn't know that there was something else out there that can do very similar things that are lasting and not have to be on meds for the rest of your life. And so I'm here as an educator just to educate everyone that there's
Right.
another option.
So how do you say someone comes in with ADD or ADHD?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel that it's so common and often diagnosed, but then also here's a prescription for it. There you go.
Right.
So what would you guys do to counteract that? Like what?
Yeah, so the first thing is we educate on what ADHD actually is, because
Right.
a lot of people think that that's an overactive brain, which is more anxiety. What ADHD actually is a underregulated brain and a slow-moving brain in a certain location, which is why they would give a stimulant. But the problem is if you have a child or an adult that has anxiety or feels like they're anxious, you stimulate one part of the brain with the drug, but you have to stimulate all parts of the brain. So now we have an overstimulated brain in one area feeling more anxious. They're not eating. We're causing all of these. We're not sleeping correctly, so we're not getting into those restorative brain waves in what we call delta. You can't, with meds, because it goes through the metabolic system, you cannot affect different brain waves in a different way. You just either bring everything up or bring everything down. Well, neurofeedback is we can isolate certain brain waves and adjust them based on, and stimulate them or, inhibit them based on what they are needed. So first we identify what the problem is, and then we can go and with the technology that we use, actually affect each brainwave and isolate that so that we're helping all parts of the brain instead of just bringing it all up or all down. Because as we know, we can't do, it's not so easy. It's not one thing that you bring all up or all down.
So describe
So
the treatment.
fascinating.
The treatment is absolutely wonderful. So everyone in all of our centers is a client first. So we all speak from personal experience. That's very important to me to be able to say that, because people ask that, what do you do?
Right.
Well, you come in and you sit in a recliner. It's very comfortable, and you're watching a TV show. You're watching a Netflix show or a
Do we get to
Disney
pick
Plus.
the show?
You get to pick the
Yeah.
show,
Oh.
right? I know, it's like 30 minutes of
Oh.
forced TV time.
Wow.
And the irony
Okay.
is
Hello,
that
Yellowstone.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. Oh
the
my gosh.
irony is that a lot of things were probably caused by screens for our kids,
Right.
especially, but this is how we address it. Well, and the reason we're using the screen is it's just keeping someone's contact or their gaze on,
Right. Keeping them focused.
keeping
Right.
them focused,
Yeah.
because all the feedback is coming through what's coming through the TV. So the brain is quite literally being trained based on the Pavlovian and operant conditioning that's coming from the TV. So it's a series of rewards or redirects based on what they're getting. So if the brainwaves are traveling in good organized patterns and there's sensors on the head reading that, then the brightness is high and the sound is high, giving an immediate reward to the brain saying that this is a good pattern. Let's keep it in this pattern and organization. If the brightness goes down and the sound goes down, it's an immediate redirect for the brain that we need to create new neuroplasticity through this area. So over a minimum of 30 sessions and 30 minutes of each session, the brain is quite literally being retrained into better organized patterns of operation.
Wow. God,
So
there's
are you
so many.
connected to something?
You're connected.
exactly,
You have sensors
yeah.
in different,
Okay.
whatever part. There's 6 different zones of the brain that we
Okay.
will put sensors on. So
Okay.
we put the sensors. Nothing goes into the brain. It's just
Okay.
reading the brainwave activity, sending it through the computer, and then the program is then helping the TV respond to what's going on as far
Okay.
as the brain. So the brain is quite literally determining what's going on the TV. So
Okay.
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
it is. It's a very interesting process.
So you come in for this treatment and you sit for 30 minutes and you watch Yellowstone.
Yes.
Yes.
Or
That's
Lioness.
what I'd be doing.
Yeah,
Lioness.
I-
Does anyone watch that?
No, but I heard
No.
about it.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
Not a TV person. And Lioness has captured my attention. It's so
Oh.
good. So good.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
Anyway, so you're watching your TV show. Your treatment time is done.
Mhm.
Do you just go back to the classroom or to work? I mean, kids shouldn't be watching Yellowstone, but
Right. True.
but so there's no downtime, is what I'm asking.
Correct. Yeah. So we ask
Awesome.
people that they come in twice a week. So it's just
Okay.
like going to the gym. If you come in once in a while, yeah, that's fine. But we're, the brain's a muscle, and we're breaking down that muscle and
Okay.
and training it to do a different pattern of operations. So the more touches on the ball, so to speak,
Right.
the better
The bit-
that we
okay,
see and the faster
okay.
the progress happens.
So 30 treatments is
Mhm.
what's recommended.
Mhm.
And then, so you go through the 30 treatments over, I guess, 15 weeks.
Right.
What happens then?
So we then go into, we will look, there's 2 additional remaps. So by the time you're done with what we call a protocol, you have 3 maps that we are able to compare. So we're
Okay.
watching how the brain is healing. We're watching all of the objective data that we're seeing throughout the sessions. So it's very data driven, very science driven. But then at the end of that 3rd map, we look and we say, okay, is inflammation gone? What's our symptomology here? Are we seeing that we have made the progress that we want to make? About 60 to 70% of our clients will stay for another round just because it starts to become habit for them and they want to stay and keep going. That's not the goal of neurofeedback, though. Neurofeedback is a very drop in the bucket type of therapy. It's not meant to be forever. It's supposed to be to get the brain
Okay.
regulated and then get you on to any other modalities that you might want to do. We just ask that people come back every year and remap, because we say neurofeedback may not be for everyone, but the brain map is for everyone. Everyone should know how their brain is functioning and what's going on and if there's any inflammation, so we can keep an eye on it. We do that with every other part of our body, so why don't we do it with our brain?
Oh my gosh. I'm learning so much just sitting here, and I've got so many. So what about a large part of our audience that is watching, Hey FemWeb, and I have to get a shout out to my group. And I mean, we're all in this, I think season of our lives that, middle-aged women, we're working, we're tired, we're this, we're that,
Perimenopause. That's a
very,
big
yes,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Menopause, very, brain fogged, brain this, are we just stuck that way? Or is there
No.
any,
Yeah.
I mean, is there any relief for women who are just like, not enough hours in the day trying to get it all done and,
Absolutely.
and it just doesn't stop?
Yes.
Like-
Well, and so a lot of those things fall under the umbrella for a lot of us in
Yeah.
our mid 40s,
Right.
early
Yes.
50s and beyond into, well, I just have anxiety. But that's not actually what it is. There's so much more that we can extrapolate with this brain map to show what's actually going on.
Well, it goes back to you just take the quiz and you get the diagnosis.
Yeah,
and then
right,
You assume
right.
that's what it is. So
Right.
you get on a medication and you're either on it
Exactly.
forever or you go back to how you were feeling when you come off the medication.
Right.
So this is a solution to that.
It is. And, medication, again, I'm not anti-meds because everyone, there's so much that
right.
medicine has been given to us as a wonderful tool. However, I have another point of reference with my dad, who is an MD. So we like traditional medicine, but my dad went through a liver transplant surgery
wow.
because he has autoimmune disease and all the medicines that he had to take throughout
Oh,
his life
wow.
for thyroid, for all these things, just literally attacked the liver. And so that's
Wow.
another epidemic that we're going to be looking at for our children. The earlier we're starting them on meds, the more their body is taxed with their liver specifically is
Did
taxed
not
with
think
having
about
to,
that.
right.
Yeah.
And so I saw what that did to my dad and then how he recovered once he got, thank God he got the liver and he's doing great. But that really gave me another layer of motivation to
Yeah.
educate people about let's not get our kids on meds so early that their body is having to filter so
Right.
much more through, because our liver, we have one of them.
Yeah,
And we
that's
cannot
it,
do
yes.
anything about it if it starts to get, cirrhotic, and we need to take care of that. And that's one thing that we're not thinking about when we're
Yeah.
putting a 3-year-old on
Because
meds.
we're already eating like crap.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh,
Yes.
yes.
Oh my gosh. I did
Our
not
food
think
is
about
working
that.
against us as well. And
Yeah.
when we're medicating because our food is working against us, now we have this whole other issue that is really at epidemic proportions.
Wow.
It's scary.
So the brain mapping,
Mhm.
when you go through the treatment, is it permanent?
It is. It is.
Okay.
So what we want to look for is that whatever is causing the inflammation or whatever is causing, like if someone comes in and they've had a car accident and that's causing the inflammation, great, we get rid of the inflammation. As long as there's not that injury again or concussion, that's fine. The issue is that a lot of with brain injury or with food sensitivities, people don't understand that that's what's plaguing their brain. And so they don't understand how to stop it or how to move past it. So like, we're in Texas, so we have Football Central, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Love our football players, but what they get a concussion, or any athlete, we get a concussion, and then as soon as the headaches go away, or we do concussion protocol for 3 weeks, and then we go back to school, there's a place for that, but that inflammation is still sitting in the brain.
Right.
And so 20, 30 years later, when
Yeah.
they are in their mid-40s, which is where all this catches up to us, now we have depression, we have all kinds of other things, not because of that injury necessarily, but because of the inflammation that was caused by the injury.
Never went away.
And that never went away. And if we don't address it, it's just going to sit there. And so then later in life, we start to see all these things compounded with the metabolic issues that we're having later
Yeah.
in life. And now we just have a bigger problem. So why not just handle that at the beginning?
Absolutely.
Like, let's deal with this with our children and let's figure out if they have food sensitivities and then get them off of those foods.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's what I was going
Yes.
to say. Like, get them
Yes.
off of those foods,
Right.
and then as an example, if you determine that dairy is an issue,
Right?
then you reduce the inflammation because of the dairy. Well, you can't go back to dairy. Like
Right.
you have to stay off
Correct.
the dairy.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But there's so many other options. And that's the
Sure,
thing,
yes.
education-wise, we just need to educate people and then get our kids in the habit of that, because
Right.
we're getting them in the habit. And, I'm a parent too. I do as I say, not as I do.
Do-
I know my
right,
kids chicken
exactly.
fingers and pizza. Like,
Yeah.
it's a problem, though.
Yeah.
And so we have to supplement. We have to supplement their diet. We have to do other things to give their brain what is needed. Otherwise, the snowball effect is just happening, and then they say they have ADHD, and let's put them on a stimulant,
Right.
which is, a form of meth.
How
which
does-
is not necessarily
How does the
great.
brain determine what foods, are sensitive and what aren't?
It's not
Like,
as
how
much
do
the
you,
brain,
like-
it's the gut. So
Okay,
the gut and the
yeah.
brain connection is huge.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
if the gut is not tolerating something, so we need good probiotics for our kids, we need
Right.
all of that support. If the gut is not going to tolerate it, then it goes through the bloodstream into the brain. And so then it's going to affect everything in between. So it's more so a gut issue. So when we have our kids that are having stomach issues, we need to address it as soon as we hear that they have it and that we're seeing that, because that is going to affect their brain eventually,
Wow.
sooner rather than later.
Wow. So I'm all for fixing our kids, but how do we fix us?
Right.
Yeah,
We have to fix us first, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
you have to put the oxygen mask on
Yeah.
ourselves
Right.
first
But
before we.
like
Yeah, absolutely.
seriously, where are you seeing this be impactful for women?
Yes. Okay, so I will speak from personal experience because I
Okay.
was my first client.
Yes.
So I was never going to
Okay.
ask anyone to do anything that I didn't, didn't do
For
first.
sure.
And so the first thing that I noticed is I was very much a control freak. As an entrepreneur, I thought, and let's just be honest,
I
I,
mean,
thought,
Oh, we
I
all
can
are.
do it
Hello.
better than anyone
yes,
else, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
guilty.
so nothing would have ever been able to be scaled as far as this business, and I wouldn't be able to be, not me personally, but my team wouldn't be able to help as many people as we are helping if I wasn't able to get past that. So that OCD, that anxiety, that feeling of I have to control everything was the first thing that dissipated. And it was
Really?
literally getting my brain into a place where, the definition of anxiety is worried about something that's in the future that might not ever happen.
Right.
The definition of depression is worrying about something that has happened and you can't change it anyway. I never really had the depression side, but the anxiety, I would sit there and worry about everything. Well, you can't move past anything, especially in an entrepreneurial role when you're in
Absolutely.
charge of a team, and you can't grow
That's right.
if anxiety is this albatross that is drawing you down. So that's the first thing that changed. And my husband was the first to notice. He's like, you're scaling this business in a way that you never would have been able to before. That's because that anxiety is gone. That is not,
incredible.
I can get past the worry of, I can get past the worry, which is frontal lobe dysregulation, and into the logic, which is more the back of the brain, because that's what I work through. I work through all of the too fast that was going on in the frontal lobes of my brain.
Wow. And that's by attributing to the 2 sessions.
Right. 2 sessions a
You-
week, being very
and-
consistent with that.
Wow.
Yes.
And
I still do it. I still
Now, are
am
you
a
given
client.
homework afterwards? Like, what is it that, okay, you go and do the sessions, but then, are you told to do, are there exercises or what is there?
There's
to do
really
after?
not. And that's
Okay.
why it works so well with teenagers. I mean, it works so well with people who are not introverts. We have so many introverts because it's hard to do traditional therapy. I'm a big proponent of traditional therapy, but it's hard to do that if you aren't aware enough or don't know, if you're too young, or if you're a teenage boy and you don't want to talk about whatever's going on with you anyway, or you're an introvert and you just don't understand why you're feeling the way that you are. So this
Or you're
is
from the 80s and you were told
that-
not to talk
you
about
were
it.
not. Yes, there's nothing wrong with you.
We
and suck
just
it up.
don't talk about
Right.
it.
That's right.
Right.
You stuff it down. You
Right.
stuff it all the way
It'll be
down.
fine.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that is why this passive form. So no, we don't send homework home. There
Okay.
are certain things that we can say this will support what you're doing.
Okay.
But there's not a prescribed thing that you have to do at home, which
Which
is why
is-
people love it.
Yeah, which is great because every time I go to the
Hey.
chiropractor, he's like, "Hey, if you would do this,
Exactly.
wouldn't
You
hurt
do your
anymore." And I'm like,
exercises and all the
"Okay,
things.
Sure. And then
Right.
You're like,
I
yeah, I'll
don't
do
But I'm
that.
coming
Whatever.
to you so you can help.
Yeah,
me, 'cause
I'm not
if
gonna
I could
do
do it
them.
myself, I would be doing it myself.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So interesting. So what? Especially you talked about the gut brain connection.
Mhm.
Where have you seen that? Especially like I'm really into like
The whole like
middle-aged,
connectivity.
like,
Right.
Yes.
connectivity. What does
Right.
that look like?
So again, speaking for me personally, I had a lot of gut issues with.
Like I'm thinking
just-
IBS and those
Right.
types of
Yeah,
situations.
yeah, exactly.
So part of some of that is we always have to find it's a chicken and egg question.
Yeah.
It's like, do I have IBS because I'm anxious and so now it's a muscle issue, or am I anxious because I have IBS? It's kind of a either or. So what
Right.
what our map will show, it doesn't say specifically what you're allergic to, but it will show that we have like either heavy metal toxicity or metabolic encephalopathy that's happening in the gut. And so then we can go and we work with a lot
Wow.
of chiropractors that will go out and we'll say, okay, go to the chiropractor and they are the specialists. Like we are not the doctor that is going to prescribe you or diagnose you with this issue, but we know that something is showing up and it's showing up in your brain and we know that that's a gut issue. So let's get you working with this chiropractor or this doctor to figure this out and then come back.
How does a chiropractor help with the gut?
Yeah.
Chiropractors are pretty amazing. Now, I don't
I mean,
want
I
to speak
love
out
my
of right.
chiropractor, but I didn't know they could do
It-
that too.
right.
They do, yeah. So the ones that we work with we have a variety, but we work with a lot of neurological chiropractors as well. They do a lot of muscle testing, which some people are like, oh, I don't know about this. But there's simple blood tests as well that can figure that out. We send people to allergists to be able to do the skin tests and see what they're reacting to. But the long and short of it is if your body is reacting to something, it is causing an inflammatory response
Right.
that sits in your brain.
Ah.
So that is going to cause issues, and we just don't look at the brain. and it's just,
Yeah.
because it's expensive, or they thought it's not that, we have a solution for that it doesn't get you to this, you don't have to be in the big MRI machine, which is scary and
Yes.
Yeah,
claustrophobic, and I don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. And
So-
expensive.
And expensive, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't get a referral for that.
Yeah.
So you can't even get to the point where you're looking at the brain, but now you can, because we have a solution for that.
And so, okay, so in doing this, is any of this covered by insurance? Because I know parents are probably
Great
like,
question.
Right.
like, hey, is this covered, or
So
what does that look like?
The world of insurance, from our standpoint, is there's a lot of insurance policies that will cover it, but they don't cover a lot of people in network to actually
Okay.
do that. So we can take HSA or FSA payments, so any flex spending we can take, but most of it is cash pay, very similar to
Okay.
chiropractors.
And
So-
so what's the cost for the treatment?
So the map is $399. So not
Okay.
not terrible, but $399, and then
And the map will tell you what the inflammation is.
correct. It shows areas of dysregulation and inflammation. So some people just want the map, and
Yeah.
that's fine. We're like, everyone should be coming in and doing the map.
Right,
at the
like-
bare
right.
minimum.
Yeah, at the bare minimum, I'm like,
When
yeah,
are we
sign me
going?
up. Like,
When are we
I
going?
know,
Right.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh.
Absolutely. And then for the sessions, for 30 sessions and the additional 2 remaps is right around $3,500.
Okay. Okay.
So
and do you
it's
pay
an-
per session?
You can
Okay.
pay per session, you can pay per month, you can pay per
Okay.
all at once. So we
Okay.
really want to work with clients.
Yeah.
So it is an investment of time and money, but we know that what we put our money into is what we continue and what we value as well.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we're doing something that is that we see through to the end.
Now, what has been some of the feedback from people who have started in the beginning
Mhm.
and now they're at their 30th session or towards the end? I mean, what does the growth look like? And is it permanent? Like once you kind of
Yeah.
go through the cycle, do you kind of come in for maintenance once a year? Is it like, what does it look like after?
It's kind of different for everybody, but I love being on percentages, the educator. in me.
Yes,
So
of course.
when we do our comparison maps, the lowest percent of positive neural progress as far as change has been 28% in our center, and the highest has been almost 70%, so like 69, 70%. And that's with 20 sessions. So we've never had anyone that's less than 28%, which is showing that the
So
brain
some
is
brains are
healing.
stubborn.
So,
Some brains are stubborn. Well,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
And I'm going to guess those are all men.
Well, a lot of them are. Well, you have we love you.
or
no.
or entrepreneurial women who are
There
type
you go.
A,
There
who
you go.
are
There's
like,
all type A
yes,
people like us. Yeah.
yes,
So,
exactly.
but the older we get, we have metabolics working against us. If we have meds that we're dealing with, sometimes those work against us. So there's a lot of factors, and we take in our intake forms, we take all of those in.
Okay.
So we're looking at all of those factors to be able to give a well-rounded picture of what to expect. And there's even, based on a metabolic score that happens in the intake forms, it will tell the client about how many sessions until you start seeing progress, about how many sessions you will likely need. And all of this is based on quantitative data of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of clients that work with the technology that we work with.
Wow.
So it's all very science-based and data-driven. It's not just like, oh, how are you feeling? Which is important. That's an important part of it.
Yeah.
But it's all based on that quantitative data, which is important. So we do see good progress with kids. It's typically faster because just their bodies haven't dealt with as much as adults. But what we have heard is, anywhere from my child is completely different to, there's certain things there that will inhibit, like if you have an EMF sensitivity, electromagnetic frequency. Those things can cause some issues. So we're very honest with people about this isn't like a quick fix. This is going to save everyone. This is going to make you all better, and you're never going to have issues again. I mean, kids are still kids.
Right.
The frontal lobe is not fully developed till you're 25 years old. So we still are going to have emotional outbursts and things like that. But what we want to see is that they can come back from it quicker, and that those are fewer and far between, and that they're just able to regulate better. So these are all the things that we talk through. Everything is a personalized program, so every protocol is personalized to the brain map. So we really sit down with people and go over all of that, and it's their decision ultimately whether they want to graduate out. We give our recommendations of that, but and a lot of them stay, and
Yeah.
we're really blessed by that.
I know you have 9 locations. Where all are they located?
So our first location was in Frisco,
Okay.
Because Frisco just seems to be the hotbed
Yeah.
of everything
Of
these
course,
days.
yes.
Yes.
So we have Frisco, we have Dallas proper, we have Denton, We have
Where in Dallas proper?
Dallas
Look, I'm
proper.
like,
We're on
Yes,
Walnut
exactly.
Hill and
What time are you
75.
open?
Walnut Hill and 75. So we're in right across from like that place
Snooze,
Snooze.
yes,
Yeah, right
okay.
in that high rise, right
Yes,
across.
absolutely.
We are
Okay.
housed in the Wellness Institute of Dallas.
Okay, very
so,
cool.
Yes, we love the Dr. Nutt and Dr.
Yeah,
Rayner over there.
That's
so
awesome.
That's wonderful. We have, did I say Denton, Prosper, Plano, Castle Hills, which we put one in our neighborhood for my
Smart,
family. So,
smart.
and
I
then
love it.
we have Grapevine, and then we're open. Our last one that we're opening is South Lake. So, which is kind of-
okay. I was waiting for
this
you to say
neighborhood is so,
Flower
yeah.
Mound, you know.
Well,
Little
Flower Mound
Fight
is
Lake.
on the list. Yes.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
so the idea is that these are neighborhood locations
Yes,
because you have
yeah.
to come twice a week, and
Yeah.
kids have to come after school. We're not
Yeah.
going to take them out of school, and people are working. So we want to put them in neighborhoods where it's convenient to go. So that's why there's so many popping up, is that we know that we need to be convenient for people.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh, there's so I can just keep going on and on.
I know,
Oh,
I know.
what about for people, who are like, let's say, trying to quit smoking, or they have a bad habit, or
Oh, good,
addictions,
yeah.
or things like that? That
Yes.
I mean, it's out there.
So this is something that's really near and dear to my heart because I'm just fascinated by it. I don't have an addictive personality, but I have wondered why certain people
Like some people
are
do,
drawn.
and some
Yeah,
people
they are.
don't. Yeah.
And why are they drawn? Why can I be exposed to something and not become addicted to it, and other person is exposed once to something,
Right, yeah.
like a drug? And I've always been fascinated with what the drug of choice. Like, how do you choose?
How do you
I
Like,
have
have this
right,
heroin
yeah.
versus marijuana?
Right,
Like
right.
A
I
drug
never
addict versus
understood-
an
right,
alcoholic versus a
exactly.
smoker. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
why?
it's based
What's
on
the
their brain profile. So if
Okay.
you are high anxiety, or your brain profile is moving too fast, then you're going to look for a marijuana or for an alcohol because that's a depressant. That's going to bring you down.
okay.
Okay.
If
yeah.
you are underregulated and you feel like you're walking through, wet sand all the time, or you can't get started with anything, you're going to want a stimulant, which is going to be your cocaine. And I'm not super educated on drugs, but
Yeah.
And we have more.
Hey, which is
appreciate
good thing.
that.
Yes,
This is
yes,
a good thing.
yes.
Yes, this is good.
But it makes sense when
Yeah.
your brain is craving something, and then based on the levels of how dysregulated you are is how much your brain is going to become dependent on that,
Yeah.
and then need more and more and more, and that's what leads to addiction. So we've just kind of touched the surface on that, but it does help with addiction because we can again educate people. If you start down this road, this is going to be a bad road for you. So you need to make an educated choice about why you need to stay away from something like
You're
this.
not going to be just a party on Friday
Correct.
night. kind of girl.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
That-
exactly.
And
that makes
imagine
sense.
if
Yeah.
if you educated the kids on that up front,
Yeah.
and they knew their brain profile, knew what to stay away from. Now at least they have a fighting chance to make a good choice.
For sure, for sure. I mean, it's kind of like children who grow up in an alcoholic home.
Right.
They will either
Yeah,
make a choice to drink, or they will make a choice very
Right.
much to
Very
not,
not
drink.
yeah, exactly.
Yes. So
Right.
interesting. So with the little bit of time we have left, because this has
Yes.
been fascinating.
I mean,
I could
I've
go
learned
on and
so
on and on.
much.
But
Yeah.
let's talk about you.
Sure.
How did I think we kind of know the story of how you got into this, because
Mhm.
you have several foster children, correct?
I just have one son, but
One, okay.
he's adopted. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you're an educator,
Mhm.
and you've been doing that for 30 years.
Yes.
And then you've taken this on.
Right.
So how do you find rest?
Yeah, where is the free
Yes.
time?
Yeah.
So right, yes. So that is that's a challenge for me, but that is something I have learned. So what I used to be like before neurofeedback, just because I felt like if you're not constantly churning out work and you're not working all the time, that you're falling behind,
Which I think
And
probably
I,
describes
I think
everyone in this
every
room.
entrepreneur
Yeah.
feels that way.
which is an anxiety response.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. It's a fear of, if I'm not working all the time, then I'm falling behind. I'm not going to be able to make payroll. I'm not going to be able to do
Oh my
this. I'm
gosh,
not going to be
yes.
able to get ahead. I'm going to fall behind. That was a constant worry for me all the time. So I always had multiple jobs. I was always a teacher because I felt that was kind of my ministry, but then that wasn't going to pay the bills. So I always had all of these different things.
Right, right.
Well, what that led to was what people will say, well, you have an amazing work ethic. What it really was an anxiety response.
Yes.
It was, if I'm
Oh my
not
gosh,
working
I
all this
have-
time.
I've
yes.
always been told I have an amazing work ethic,
Right.
and I'm like, what you really mean is I work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Right.
and thank
Because
you.
I'm afraid of what's going to happen if
Yeah.
I don't.
Absolutely. I mean,
Wow.
as a single mom, it's that constant fear of
Grind, grind.
Yeah, I've got to
Yes.
grind because no one's here to pay my bills. Like
Right.
I am responsible for my mortgage and this and this
Yeah.
and this and that. And, so it's
Right.
all that weight
So
on
why
me.
not choose real estate as your
I
career?
do because it's not stressful enough.
exactly.
Like,
Right,
being a
right.
single mom, let's start real estate.
Okay,
It's
but
fine.
you didn't answer the question.
Yes, I didn't. So
But
let me get to
yes,
it.
yes.
What I learned is if I don't rest, I can't do anything else. And I hit that 40 mark. I'm 45 now, but
Okay.
I hit the 40s, And all of a sudden, all the stuff I could do, I couldn't anymore. I couldn't do 3 careers anymore. I couldn't keep up this pace. So what I do now is I have learned to delegate. So the word delegate was a bad word in my vocabulary. But now I'm able to delegate because I trust that my staff is going to do what I have trained them to do.
Yeah.
And that was not because I didn't trust staff before. It's because my brain literally would tell me and lie to me to say that I'm the only one that can do this. And no one else is going to be able to do it as well as I am. That calmed down. That inner dialogue of nonsense is gone now. And again, that's an anxiety response. I was able to get to the logic of, these things that I worry about are not things that have actually happened. So now what I can do, like the perfect example yesterday, I go into the Frisco Center and my staff is like, oh, you didn't need to be here today. Well, the old Sandra would have said, well, okay, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to just make sure everything, metal and does not
wipe
need
off
it.
the counter.
Yeah, exactly.
Fill up the snack bin that anyone else can do. Like the owner does not need to be in there doing that. And so what I did is I talked to my dad a little bit, who's in office with us. He's the doctor in office with us. And I got my stuff and I went home. And I played mom. So that's what I've done. I ended up watching Gossip Girl. Embarrassed. Let me just throw that out there.
Yes.
That's a great show.
That is a great. Oh my! Okay, I have a teenage daughter, and we watch it together.
I was up till
so
1
great.
a.m., which was not rest. But for me, I was able to just shut down my brain.
But that's part of your self-care.
It is.
It's a part of
is.
Sometimes binging on a Netflix show or whatever is self-care.
And I'll make the choice instead of on Saturday night doing a business dinner. Last Saturday night, I made the choice to go to a Baylor basketball game with my brother and his wife and my husband. I've just been able to make those choices. And like I said, I'm an introvert by nature, so I need to be by myself. I need to
recharge.
I need to recharge because if I'm with people all the time, I get very depleted.
Yeah.
So I know that about myself, but my map helped me to see that because people will be like, you're not an introvert, you're an extrovert. Absolutely not. No, I need to be at home on my couch.
Yes.
You have your limit.
I have my limit.
Yes.
And so I know
I'm
that
a hybrid
now.
that way too.
I think
I'm
that's what I've
introvert,
learned with
extrovert.
myself. Introvert, extrovert. Like when I'm done, I'm done. And
Yes.
you'll know. You will know.
Right.
Like,
When I start shutting down, I'm glassy-eyed. I'm like,
Yes.
I need a minute.
But last night I put my computer on the couch right next to me, and I was like, I really should be doing work. And I didn't because I thought, tomorrow is another day. We can get to that tomorrow. I need to rest right now, and that is what. Quite honestly, neurofeedback has helped me to not have the anxiety of I'm falling behind because tomorrow's another day. I don't need to, pack everything into this one. I can sit here and recharge and be better for tomorrow. So that's my self-care.
awesome. And then
I love it.
And maybe not. We always like to ask as a female, where have you encountered any negativity or difficulties in your industry? But maybe you haven't because I feel like you're primarily dealing with moms.
We really are. I mean, we actually have quite a few males that come in as well, but by the time they get to us, a lot of our clients have tried a lot of other things. And so they're desperate. They trust
Exactly.
this process because you're not going to come to something like neurofeedback typically first. Most of the people coming to us have done their research. They've looked at other things. They've experienced some negativity with other treatments. And so they're wanting to get to us. So we don't have a lot of that. And I'm just kind of a big and imposing person anyway. I have very broad shoulders. So they typically, by the time they get to us, they're not questioning. Now they will. We will run up against, because I'm not an MD, we will run up against some of that.
What medical data, what is this?
Right.
Yes.
Like, what training do you have? Well, I did all of my training in brain-based education. My master's degree is in that. And so this mirrors all of that. There's, 9 different learning functions in the brain. There are 14 different areas of the brain that control different symptoms. It matches up very, very closely. And so that's where we run into things. But, women in business right now is a hot thing, and people respect us. And
Finally.
Finally, we worked hard to get to this.
Yes.
I find it, I'm really proud of the fact that most of our employees are women who are building, lives through that. So I haven't really run into a lot that's
awesome.
anti-women in business, which is great.
So I have one more question that I just thought of. In the world of Ozempic,
Yes.
how does this affect weight loss?
So it will. So I will, let's be very transparent here. Both my husband and my husband's type 2 diabetic. I have an autoimmune disease called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Yeah.
So both of us are on Mounjaro, which is a diabetic drug, which helps, I have insulin resistance. He has type 2 diabetes. So both of us are on it. And so we watch our maps very carefully to see how it affects. what it has done for us is there's a frontal lobe dysregulation called impulse control, obviously.
Yes.
And so when our frontal lobe is out of alignment, it is going to tell us, eat that sugar. I need that. You need that.
Is that where the cravings come in?
It's the cravings, yeah. So when we are settling down our frontal lobe and getting our brain into a pattern of, instead of being impulsive, now we're making a good choice over time. That's what's helping. So definitely,
fascinating. Oh my gosh.
I would not go so far to say use this as a weight loss tool by any stretch, because we just don't have the data that supports that. There's so many other factors that are going into that. But as far as impulse control and behavior, it helps in a huge way.
And so many people eat
And
because
so
of
exactly.
this, and
Yes,
because of
stress,
anxiety,
stress
depression,
eating.
stress.
People like.
Well, and if you think about that, though, sugar is a stimulant, right? So if we feel depressed, sugar is going to give that dopamine hit to the brain. So that's why we go to sugar. That's why we emotionally eat. If we're feeling bad, we emotionally eat because the sugar in whatever we're eating is going to be a shot. That's why we drink, right? Because alcohol turns to sugar immediately, gives that dopamine hit, but then it makes us crash again. So, which is what sugar does. You take in sugar, your body has to produce insulin. Insulin takes up all the sugar, you crash. So it's this roller coaster all the time. So when we start to say, okay, I'm going to not be impulsive in taking in this sugar because my brain's telling me I need that, we're going to get regulated so that we don't need that, and we're getting into the more logical side. So yeah, it's not, like I said, I wouldn't say, oh, come in and you're going to lose all this weight, but it just is an overall health issue.
Right.
Of
It could be a
impulsivity.
side effect. Yes.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
God, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, I could go.
I've
I could
learned,
keep
like,
going.
me
Yeah.
too. I could sit here and learn about the brain all day long.
It's fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yet we give it, of all of the medical attention that we
like next to
provide,
nothing.
It's the least.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Crazy.
because people don't know that it's an option. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what I
that's
want
true.
everyone to know. These maps are an option.
Yeah.
Come in, let's see what's going on. And if you don't want to do neurofeedback, you don't have to go forward with it. But why not come in every year and just see what's
the
going
map.
on?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Wow. Now, does it detect any, and I know we have to wrap up here, but does it
I know, I'm
detect any, I keep going, I want to go on and on. I mean, because let's be real, I mean, in medical issues and things like that, would it ever detect like a tumor or something like that, where if they come in and get something, you're seeing something off, or is it like you need to go see a doctor or anything like that?
It wouldn't, because it's not imaging, it wouldn't detect a tumor.
It's not imaging.
Okay.
But
Got
it will
it.
show
Got it.
where
Okay.
there is dysregulation happening, and if there is a big, like basically we're looking at brain pathways of how the brain waves are traveling.
Okay.
If we have so much inflammation that will not go away, then we would refer out and say, there's something else going on
something
here,
more.
so you should
Okay.
go get imaging. But
Interesting.
it's looking for it's working with the electrical system of the brain more so than
Okay.
looking
The actual
at
That makes
imaging.
sense.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Correct. So we would never go so far to say that. Now, if there is, if we're having like seizures and seizure activity, we can see that more,
Okay.
and the effect of that. But as far as tumors, we can't. No,
Okay.
we wouldn't.
Okay.
And neurologists are amazing at what they do, and they have so
Oh,
much
yeah.
more education. So we do
It's
not try
different,
to
for sure.
even
Yes,
be in their
right.
realm, because they are
Yeah.
so amazing. So yeah, we're very different.
So where can people find you?
Yes.
Yes, you can find us at braintraindfw.com.
Okay.
And we are on Instagram and Facebook, all under that same
Awesome.
name.
Okay.
But yeah, we would love people to come visit the website and just see
Yeah.
what it shows. We have some videos on there.
Oh,
we have
good.
some
Okay.
client testimonials.
Oh, perfect.
And just showing who we are and what we do.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. I think
Yes.
we could go until noon, but we do have to
I
wrap
know.
it up.
Thank you for
Learned
having me.
so
Yes,
much today.
Yeah, so exciting. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get my brain mapped. Oh my goodness.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, I'm going to follow you to your next office,
Yes.
like wherever you're going.
Well, thank you again. Thank you, everyone. Have
Yes.
an amazing week. We will see you next week on Winning Women's Wednesday West.